We just weren't in a position to make the multi-billion-dollar investment into Anthropic so that they could use our compute. But Google and AWS were, and they put in huge investments in the beginning so that Anthropic, in return, used their compute. We just weren't in a position to do so at the time. Nor did I would say my mistake is I didn't deeply internalize that they really had no other options. That a VC would never put in $5-10 billion of investment into an AI lab with the hopes of it turning out to be Anthropic. And so that was my miss. But even if I understood it, I don't think we would have been in a position to do that at the time. But I'm not going to make that same mistake again.
The CEO of a $3 trillion company just said, "That was my mistake on camera." Jensen Huang, the man who built Nvidia from nothing into the engine of the entire AI revolution, just gave one of the most honest and surprising interviews of his career, the Anthropic admission. The real reason Nvidia's moat is almost impossible to break. The bottleneck nobody's talking about, and his direct pushback on Dario Amodei's position on China. And it's a strong argument. Subscribe if you haven't already. Every week we break down the top CEOs shaping the AI revolution. Jensen speaks for himself. Let's go.
Well, in the end, something has to transform electrons to tokens. That transformation, the transformation of electrons to tokens and making those tokens more valuable over time. I think that's hard to completely commoditize. The transformation from electrons to tokens is such an incredible journey, and making that token, it's like making one molecule more valuable than another molecule, making one token more valuable than another. The amount of artistry, engineering, science, invention that goes into making that token valuable, obviously we're watching it happening in real time. And so the transformation, the manufacturing, all of the science that goes in there is far from deeply understood, and it's far from, the journey is far from over. And so I doubt that it will happen. We're going to make it more efficient, of course. I mean, the whole thing about Nvidia, in fact, the way that you framed the question is my mental model of our company. The input is electron, the output is tokens. That is, in the middle, Nvidia. And our job is to do as much as necessary, as little as possible, to enable that transformation to be done at incredible capabilities. And what I mean by as little as possible, whatever I don't need to do, I partner with somebody and I make it part of my ecosystem to do. And if you look at Nvidia today, we probably have the largest ecosystem of partners, both in supply chain upstream, supply chain downstream, all of the computer companies and all the application developers and all the model makers and all the AI is a five-layer cake, if you will. And we have ecosystems across the entire 5 layers. And so we try to do as little as possible. But the part that we have to do, as it turns out, is insanely hard. And I don't think that gets commoditized. If you were a developer and you were building anything at all, the single most important thing you want more than anything is install base. You want the software that you run to run on a whole bunch of other computers. You don't want to build a software. You're not building software just for yourself. You're building software for your fleet or for everybody else's fleet because you're a framework builder. And NVIDIA's CUDA ecosystem is ultimately its great treasure. We are now, I don't know how many, several hundred million GPUs. Every cloud has it. Goes back to A10, A100, H100, H200, the L series, the P series. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. And they're in all kinds of sizes and shapes. And if you're a robotics company, you want that CUDA stack to actually run in the robot itself. We're literally everywhere. And it could be at any instant in any instance, we could be limited by the number of plumbers, which actually happens.
The plumbers are invited to next year's GTC.
Yeah. By the way, great idea. But that's a good condition. You want a market, you want an industry where the instantaneous demand is greater than the total supply of the industry. The opposite is obviously less good.
It seems like some bottlenecks are easier than others. And so scaling up CoWoS versus scaling up...
I went to the hardest one, by the way.
Which is?
Plumbers. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I actually went to the hardest one.
Yeah,
plumbers and electricians. And the reason for that is because, and this is one of the concerns that I have about the doomers, describing the end of work and killing of jobs. And one of the things that if we discourage people from being software engineers, we're not software engineers. And the same prediction 10 years ago, some of the doomers were saying that we're telling people, whatever you do, don't be a radiologist. And you might hear some of those videos are still on the web. Radiology is going to be the first career to go. The world's not going to need any more radiologists. Guess what? We're short of radiologists.
Back to Jensen.
TPUs, like anything else, is impacted by Moore's Law. And we know that Moore's Law is increasing about 25% per year. And so the only way to really get 10x leaps, 100x leaps, is to fundamentally change the algorithm and how it's computed every single year. And that's NVIDIA's fundamental advantage. The only reason why we were able to make Blackwell the Hopper 50 times, I said it was 35 times, and when I first announced Blackwell was going to be 35 times more energy efficient than Hopper, nobody believed it. And then Dylan wrote an article. He said in fact I sandbagged. It's actually 50 times, and you can't reasonably do that with just Moore's Law. And our one of the things that you can count on with NVIDIA is that this year, Vera Rubin's going to be incredible. Next year, Vera Rubin Ultra will come. The year after that, Feynman will come. And the year after that, I haven't introduced the name yet. And so every single year you can count on us. And this is you're going to have to go find another ASIC team in the world. Pick your ASIC team where you can say, I can bet my entire business that you will be here for me every single year. Your token cost will decrease by an order of magnitude every single year. I can count on it, but I can count on the clock. Well, I just said something about TSMC. No other foundry in history can you possibly say that. You can say that about NVIDIA today. You can count on us every single year. If you would like to buy $1 billion worth of AI factory compute, no problem. If you'd like to buy $100 million, no problem. If you'd like to buy $10 million or just one rack, not a problem. Or just one graphics card, okay, no problem. If you would like to place an order for a $100 billion AI factory, no problem. We're the only company in the world where you can say that today. I can say that about TSMC as well. I want to buy 1 billion, no problem. We just got to go through the process of planning for it, and all the things that mature people do. And so I think this ability for NVIDIA to be the foundation of the world's AI industry, this is a position that has taken us couple of decades to arrive at. Enormous commitment, enormous dedication, and the stability of our company, the consistency of our company is really, really important. First of all, Mythos was trained on fairly mundane capacity and a fairly mundane amount of it by an extraordinary company. And so the amount of capacity and the type of compute it was trained on is abundantly available in China. And so you just have to first realize that chips exist in China. They manufacture 60% of the world's mainstream chips, maybe more. It's a very large industry for them. They have some of the world's greatest computer scientists. As you know, most of the AI researchers in all of these AI labs, most of them are Chinese. They have 50% of the world's AI researchers. It is essential that our AI researchers and their AI researchers are actually talking. It is essential that we try to both agree on what not to use the AI for. With respect to finding bugs in software, of course, that's what AI is supposed to do. Is it going to find bugs in a lot of software? Of course. There's lots and lots of bugs. There are lots of bugs in the AI software. And so that's what AI is supposed to do. And I'm delighted that AI has reached a level where it could help us be so much more productive. One of the things that is underemphasized is the richness of ecosystem around cybersecurity, AI cybersecurity, and AI security, and AI privacy, and AI safety. That whole ecosystem of AI startups that are trying to create this future for us, where you have one AI agent that's incredible, surrounded by thousands of AI agents, keeping it safe, keeping it secure. That future surely is going to happen.
How does selling them chips now help us win in the long term? Like, Tesla sold extremely good electric vehicles to China for a long time. iPhones are sold in China extremely good. They didn't cost them lock-in. China will still make their version of EVs, and they're dominating, and smartphones are dominating.
When we started the conversation today, you would acknowledge, and you acknowledged, that Nvidia's position is very different. You use words like moat. The single most important thing to our company is our richness of our ecosystem, which is about developers. 50% of the AI developers are in China. The United States should not give that up.
That's a genuinely strong argument. And it's a direct counter to what Dario Amodei said when he was on this channel, that selling chips to adversaries is like selling nuclear technology to North Korea. Jensen's position? You're not sending enriched uranium. You're selling chips they can already make themselves. The real risk is ceding 50% of the world's AI developers to a non-American tech stack. Both positions are serious. Neither is stupid. This is exactly the kind of tension this channel exists to explore. The progress, the opportunity, and the real challenges we don't have easy answers for yet. Not subscribed? Hit subscribe. This is the conversation.
At the time, I didn't deeply internalize how difficult it would be to build a foundation AI lab like OpenAI and Anthropic. And the fact that they needed huge investments from the supplier themselves. We just weren't in a position to make the multi-billion-dollar investment into Anthropic so that they could use our compute. But Google and AWS were, and they put in huge investments in the beginning so that Anthropic, in return, used their compute. We just weren't in a position to do so at the time. Nor did I would say my mistake is I didn't deeply internalize that they really had no other options. that a VC would never put in $5-10 billion of investment into an AI lab with the hopes of it turning out to be Anthropic. And so that was my miss. But even if I understood it, I don't think we would have been in a position to do that at the time. But I'm not going to make that same mistake again. And I'm delighted to invest in OpenAI, and I'm delighted to help them scale, and I believe it's essential to do so. And then when I was able to, when Anthropic came to us, I'm delighted to be an investor, delighted to help them scale, and but we just weren't at the time able to do so. If I could rewind everything, if Nvidia could have been as big back then as we are now, I would have been more than happy to do it. When Nvidia first started, there were 60 graphics companies, 60 3D graphics companies. We are the only one that survived. If you would have taken those 60 companies, 60 graphics companies, and asked yourself which one was going to make it, Nvidia would be the top of that list not to make it. This is long before you, but Nvidia's graphics architecture was precisely wrong. It's not a little bit wrong. We created an architecture that was precisely wrong. And it was an impossible thing for developers to support. It was never going to make it. We reasoned about it from good first principles, but we ended up in the wrong solution. And everybody would have counted us out. And here we are. And so I have enough humility to recognize that, don't pick winners.
Jensen Huang built the infrastructure the entire AI revolution runs on. He did it over 2 decades, losing money on CUDA for most of that time, betting on something nobody believed in. And in this interview, at the peak of his company's power, he said the 2 most surprising things a CEO at this level can say. That was my mistake, and I almost didn't make it. The lesson for anyone building right now is the same one it's always been. The people who bet early on the thing nobody believes in and hold on long enough are the ones who end up in the room. Like this if it hit differently. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of it. And drop a comment. Is Jensen right about China, or is Dario? See you on the next one.